Roland Fryer was born on June 14, 1977 in Daytona Beach, Florida. After studying economics at the University of Texas on an athletic scholarship, Fryer earned his PhD in economics at Penn State University. He is currently a professor of economics at Harvard, and in 2007 he became the youngest African American to earn tenure at Harvard. Before finding success in college, graduate school, and beyond, Fryer had a rough childhood. He grew up around drug dealers and gang members who constantly fought. His mother abandoned him when he was 4, his father was an alcoholic, and 8 of his family members either died early or were sent to prison for selling cocaine. Fryer's work centers around race, discrimination, and overcoming social inequalities. In one of his earlier studies, he researched into why African Americans do worse than white students in school. Although kindergarten posed no variability in success rates, he began to see differences in 3rd grade. For example, 9-year-old black students were 20% less likely to know multiplication tables than white students. Fryer proceeded to test his hypothesis. Black students were afraid of putting in the effort to succeed in school because their peers would think they were trying to be white. He asked students to name their friends and only counted friends as people who named each other. Finding his hypothesis to be true, he concluded that black students who did well had fewer friends than average black students. As GPA increased for minorities, popularity dropped, while popularity soared when white students performed better. Fryer says the effect on acting white on popularity appears to be twice as large in the more integrated schools as in the less integrated ones. Acting white was not seen in private schools and mostly black public schools. In search of a solution, Fryer wanted to know if financial incentives made a difference in a student's performance. A Houston school experiment he implemented showed that students worked 8.7% harder for every 10% increase in incentive. What inspired Fryer to do this experiment? As a kid, his basketball coach would ask how the kids were doing in the first 6 weeks to see who would be eligible to play. His coach naturally assumed he was doing well and proceeded to question other students. Fryer said he didn't like being singled out and wanted to be treated like Acting white originated from journals and was used to describe minorities who acted like elitists and were shunned by their peers. In 1999, psychologist Angela Neal Barnett asked students what it meant. They listed examples like taking AP courses and wearing clothes from The Gap instead of Tommy Hilfiger. In the late 1990s, Harvard economist Ron Ferguson researched into a suburb of Cleveland, Ohio called Shaker Heights. People in the town were against intellectual black people. Half of the high school was composed of black students, yet they made up 31% of those in honors courses and 11% in AP classes. In the same classes, black and white students with similar incomes spent the same time on homework, yet black students still underperformed. The cause? Economics. In Shaker Heights, the average black family's income is half of a white family's. 45% of black parents and 90% of white parents have 4-year degrees. Ivory A. Toldson is a professor at Howard University and holds a PhD in philosophy and psychology. He was intrigued by Fryer's work and wanted to find evidence for the acting white theory. In his own research about pushing black students towards academic success, Toldson notices what he calls a nerd bend. Highest achievers get bullied more than high achievers, but less than low achievers. He looked at a CBS News monthly poll asking kids to describe people who get good grades: cool, normal, weird, boring, or admired. 17% of the cool response came from black male students, and 11 to 12% of other students also responded with cool. Most responses said normal, and there were rare responses of weird and boring. Another question asked was, if you did really well in school, is it something you would be proud of or something you would be embarrassed about? 89% of all students said they would be proud. 95% of black females and 90% of black males said they would be proud. For these reasons, Toldson believes that the acting white theory does not add up. A second area Fryer focused on was police force. He recently analyzed over 1,000 shootings in 10 police departments in Texas, Florida, and California between 2000 and 2015. His research shows that there is no racial bias in police shootings, which contradicts major shootings on the news like Michael Brown and Tamir Rice.
Created using Powtoon.